Hey traders, Nick Shaheen here, recapping the day of November 18th, 2014. It's Tuesday. A bullish day in the markets. We've had a few boring days in a row and finally an unboring day from the scorecard perspective. Let's start with that. The scoreboard for today is basically everything is up. The Dow up the least at plus 0.2%. SPX up 0.51%. The SPY up a little more than that, percentage-wise. And the NDX up 0.67%. Small caps up 0.5%. But, a bullish day indicating still that the bulls are in complete control. So really there was something different today, and I left the window open. This was Apple, another good day in Apple, up 1.3%. So my short Apple trade, it's under fire a little bit, so I'm down a couple $100. It's not a big deal. It's a small trade, but the close has been recently a push into the close. If you remember the last few recaps, I've said, oh my God, out of nowhere, a push comes out to close a green or to hold the green and barely flat, right? And the way we see that, if I go to the SPY, for example, these are daily candles, right? And you see they're flat closes, and we've closed flat, 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 flat almost, except for today, a clear green close, however, came on a weak close. That's because maybe it was up already. So I don't know if it's a change in sentiment or what, but I thought I'd make a note. Lagging today were the small caps. Now this is the small caps mini was only up 0.33%, so lagging the 0.5% up on the minis, which is the S&P. So something to note also that the small caps did not lead up, although they were leading up in the morning. So let me zoom out. Look at that rise in the morning, and they had a pretty big high. It's not an all-time high, nowhere near an all-time high with the small caps. But then they quickly gave it back up and nicely recovered, and I thought this was pretty bullish. That's like a bull. Anytime it's a rounding bottom, regardless of time frame, it's bullish. So it got here and then lost it again, and then it got to here and then lost it. So we never recovered those two. If I connect those 2 points, we never came to it. In fact, we almost lost it. We just ran out of time. This bounce, and here we are. We are at it, and it would have been an uglier candle had we had an extra hour. It was consistently down, and if I zoom in, the close was on relatively big volume to the day, right? Now, speaking of volume, I'll zoom out and we'll check volume later. Apple had an iffy start, but quickly recovered and ran out. There was some headline somewhere around here that something about the iWatch developer kit is available. Now, look at the downward dog that Google did today. Incredible recovery in the morning, 542 high for Goog, not the Google, and then almost immediately started to give up, and then quieted into a down day, mildly down day, but it was up here. So relative to the high, it's not as good. If you look at it at just the 0.28%, yeah, not a big deal, but it was a lot higher, so it did let go. All day, the momentum stocks were mixed. Some green, some red, and they ended up mixed. Some green, some red. Twitter up a little bit. Tesla was playing with fire today. Let me replace Tesla in here. And I think Tesla also ran out of time to where it could have had an ugly day. It quickly ran, and it had a couple of mentions from CNBC. And then all the rest of the day, it played with fire by bouncing on this right there, and then it finally broke it right here on this candle. Had it had more time, I think it may have been ugly close. It's still up 1.5%, which is pretty impressive. Okay, so I'll return Google to its place. Okay, the Nasdaq right here is the NQ. Just like everything else, great open. Tried to decide whether it wants to let it go or not. Recovered in a nice bull shape, almost, and then meandered here, and then boom, broke out, probably with the help of Apple. And then instead of closing up into the close, they teetered down a little bit. Not a disaster. It's still up 0.67, 0.66. So up a lot more than the small caps. They're still trading, by the way. They still have a few minutes. So what happened to oil? Oil down almost 2%, 1.7%. This is oil. Terrible day for oil. Oil has been not doing well. And that usually is bearish markets because markets conceive it as the growth. If oil is not pricing well, then there's no growth, demand, whatever. So also, which was strange today, the inverse relationship between the markets and the bonds. So bonds were strong today, up 0.3% almost, and the 10-year rates were down almost 0.75, 77%. That combination is usually bearish markets, yet the markets ignored it today. So I don't know what this is telling us. Is there a breakdown between the two? The pair trade, one going up, one going down? I'm not sure. So we'll see. Again, to be seen. I made that comment yesterday, and it's more true today than yesterday because the markets are greener. So if I zoom out, the action in the S&P was almost identical to this action right here. So great open, iffy, then okay, no, I'll settle, and then boom, break out to new highs. And these are new all-time highs, by the way. We didn't close there, but I do believe it's a new close at the all-time high for the SPX, and we'll go check it out. Here's the S&P, and yep, boom, right above that range. So now it's a breakout. We closed above it. How far are they willing to take it? That's the big question. Volume was okay, a little better than yesterday, but still a little lower than the moving average 10-day. So that was the SPY. IWM, that's the small caps. We had 3 bad candles, and I've been saying let's listen to them, and now this is an indecision candle. Even though it's green, it left a long tail on the top and a relatively long tail on the bottom. It did close green, so what happened is they opened here, they tried to run it up, they couldn't hold it, and they tried to sell it down. They couldn't keep it down all the way, so they closed a little green somewhere in the middle. So indecision. Following 3 bad candles, so they don't know whether to join the party or not. This was on heavy volume relative to yesterday, so now it wants to tackle this box I've been talking about where it failed. So what to do next? It's still indecisive, and I think that's my cue. I'm looking at the small caps. If they join the party, then we have to start thinking a little more room on the upside than downside. Until then, I reserve the right. So Qs, that's the NASDAQ. It's been broken out since here, and yesterday's hammer was kind of iffy as to what to do, and today there's nothing iffy about it. Boom, more green. Volume, just a little hair better than yesterday, but still under the moving average. But still a good point. Still the bulls are in control, and the bears are taking heat. They're not doing anything. They're just waiting for the next headline, just like they did before. All right, so what's with tomorrow? Tomorrow's open. I think we have a pipeline vote tonight. I'm not sure how much influence that has directly on the psyche of the traders. I believe it will have indirect influence if it does move the oil prices somehow. So if a surprise comes, right now they're not expecting it to pass. So if the surprise passing happens, then it may affect the price of oil, which is right here. If I zoom out, but then again, it's a crapshoot, excuse my language, about how traders will take it. Sometimes they run with oil, sometimes they sell a higher oil. Not sure. I don't think they're sure. Earnings might have something to say about it. Also not sure. Oh, one thing we haven't looked at yet today are the mid caps. They were up 0.5%, so it was looking a little bearish here, just like the small caps. Today's mid caps move is a little more convincingly bullish than the small caps, so they kind of starting to agreeing with the broader markets. So I'll keep an eye on that. Again, it has 2 failures up higher than this. This is not an all-time high. Oh, by the way, the SPY, I didn't point it out, but yes, I did. Yeah, it is an all-time high. All right, so I did note today that in the NDX, which is another index for the NASDAQ, if I zoom in to concentrate on just the past 3 months, this was a correction. From here to here is over, eyeball 540 points and then some. I think the low was 37 flat, 3,722 cents right there. from here to here is 542 and change points. I think the high today was 542.8. So that's a lot of points in what, 30 days? So under the 20 days of trading, that's a lot of points. Not as many points as in the dot-com bubble, but then again, the dot-com era was not a good trading guide, is it now? Because it did not end well. We had good conversations today, back and forth. I had a conversation, particularly good. First of all, thank you for the reviews. I take the good and the bad. Today was good. Thank you. Also, I had a conversation with a good member. They're all good, but this one knows what he's doing, and he was just saying that we would like to see more action as far as trade recommendations and also on some more tickers. As the membership grows, it becomes harder and harder to cast a net wide enough to appease everybody without direction from you. So I'm glad that he mentioned it, and that's why I'm asking for tickers from you to see if I can scope some trades based on the tickers. Some of the tickers I won't track fundamentally, so I'll point out that just barely technical aspect, and you can apply that technical knowledge onto your opinion of it fundamentally and see if the trade makes sense or not. So from that standpoint, for the next week, I'm going to do a lot of homework on how to automate this process as best as possible and make it as clear as possible with the best tracking possible. So keep your eyes open for that and keep the suggestions coming, because that's how we grow as a community, and we are growing, and the feedback I'm getting and the interaction throughout the day is pretty incredible. So working one-on-one is not a problem. Even though I get hundreds of emails and messages a day, I don't ignore any of them. Yesterday I was late answering one. Sorry, but I did answer it finally because it completely slipped off my radar somehow. But there were no damage done, obviously. And but a friendly reminder sometimes will get me off my behind and make sure I don't miss anybody. All right, so it is 12 minutes into the recap, and I think I'll leave it right here. And I'll send out mini write-ups and/or mini videos with any particular names I want to talk about. And there are quite a few names I want to talk about. All right, Nick Sheen signing out.